Valuable lessons from the Roman-Germanic Wars. The year was 9 CE, a time of tension and ambition across the Roman Empire. In the deep forests of Germania, the roots of rebellion brewed. At the heart of this story are three figures: Marcus Quintilius, a young Roman officer hungry for glory; Arminius, a Germanic noble and Roman-trained warrior torn between loyalty and freedom; and Edda, a wise woman of the Cherusei tribe whose visions of the future shaped the course of their actions. Chapter 1: Seeds of Ambition. Marcus Quintilius was the youngest centurion to serve under Publius Quinctilius Varus, the Roman governor tasked with pacifying Germania. Germania was wild and untamed, its dense forests and tribal independence a stark contrast to the order and splendor of Rome. Marcus, born into a wealthy family, sought not only to climb the ranks but also to leave a legacy etched in marble and history. The governor's camp, positioned near the Lip River, buzzed with preparation. Intelligence had suggested unrest among the Germanic tribes, but Varus dismissed it as routine disobedience. The barbarians will yield, as they always do, Varus assured his officers during a meeting. However, Arminius, standing beside Varus as an ally and interpreter, knew otherwise. Born a prince of the Cherusei tribe, he had been taken to Rome as a hostage in his youth, trained in Roman military tactics, and granted citizenship. Yet his heart remained bound to Germania. The Romans' relentless imposition of taxes and their dismissal of tribal customs fueled a growing rebellion. "You underestimate them," Arminius said cautiously. "These are not just scattered skirmishes. They speak of unity, something the tribes rarely achieve." Varus waved him off. "They'll crumble before Roman steel." Marcus, observing this exchange, grew wary of Arminius. Though the Germanic warrior carried Roman titles, there was an untamed fire in his eyes. Chapter 2: Shadows of Treachery. In the Cherusei village, Edda prepared for the coming storm. Her visions had shown her fire, blood, and an empire brought to its knees. She warned her son, Arminius, of the dangers ahead. "The forest speaks of betrayal," she said, her voice low as she mixed herbs in her hut. "Your heart pulls you in two directions, my son. Which path will you choose?" Arminius knelt beside her, his Roman armor gleaming. "I will unite the tribes, mother. Germania will not kneel to Rome." Edda sighed. "If you betray them, Rome will not forgive. If you fail, Germania will not forgive. You walk a knife's edge." The tribes, reluctant to trust one another, had gathered under Arminius' leadership. The Bructeri, the Chatti, and the Marsi, groups long embroiled in feuds, set aside their differences for one purpose: to expel the Romans. Arminius promised them victory, leveraging his knowledge of Roman strategies. As the tribes prepared for war, Marcus led patrols deep into the forest. He felt the oppressive weight of the trees and the watchful eyes of unseen foes. He began to question Varus' confidence. "They know this land better than we do," he muttered to his second-in-command, Lucius. "And we march deeper every day." Chapter 3: The Trap. The Roman legions, numbering nearly 20,000, moved in a long, vulnerable line through the Teutoburg forest. The dense foliage and narrow paths forced them into disarray. Arminius, pretending loyalty, had convinced Varus to take this route under the guise of quelling unrest. Edda's warnings rang in Arminius' ears as he gave the signal for the ambush. The forest erupted with chaos. Tribesmen armed with spears, swords, and bows attacked from all sides. The Romans, trained for open-field battles, struggled to form defensive lines. Marcus fought valiantly, his sword cutting through the fray. "Hold the line," he shouted, rallying his men. But the terrain favored the Germans. The Romans' discipline began to falter as panic set in. For 3 days the battle raged. Rain turned the ground to mud, and the forest itself seemed to conspire against the Romans. Marcus found himself separated from his unit, stumbling through the trees. He encountered Arminius, who removed his Roman helmet to reveal his true allegiance. "You betrayed us," Marcus spat, raising his sword. Arminius blocked the blow with his shield. "I freed my people." The two clashed, their swords ringing in the chaos. Marcus was no match for Arminius, who struck him down but spared his life. "Go back to your empire," Arminius said. "Tell them we will never bow." Chapter 4. Lessons of Defeat. The Battle of Teutoburg Forest ended in disaster for Rome. Varus, realizing the extent of his failure, took his own life. Only a few survivors, including Marcus, managed to escape. He returned to Rome, his dreams of glory shattered. The defeat sent shockwaves through the empire. Emperor Augustus reportedly wandered his palace, crying, "Quinctilius Varus, give me back my legions." Marcus, now a broken man, reflected on the lessons of the war. He shared his thoughts in letters to his family. Underestimating the enemy. "We viewed the Germans as disorganized barbarians, yet their unity and understanding of the terrain proved superior to our might." Overconfidence in power. Varus dismissed warnings, blind to the reality that no empire is invincible. The importance of cultural respect. Had we sought to integrate rather than subjugate, perhaps we would have found allies instead of enemies. Arminius, hailed as a hero among the Germanic tribes, struggled to maintain the unity he had forged. The very tribes that fought beside him soon resumed their infighting. His dream of a united Germania proved fleeting. Chapter 5. The Enduring Legacy. Years later, Marcus, retired and living in obscurity, penned his memoirs. He wrote of the lessons he had learned not just as a soldier but as a man. "War teaches us not only how to fight but also how to fail," he concluded. Meanwhile, Edda, now elderly, looked out over her village. "The empire will return," she whispered to herself. "But so will the forest." Always, the Roman-Germanic wars left an indelible mark on history. For Rome, it was a humbling reminder of the limits of expansion. For Germania, it was a fleeting victory that sparked centuries of resistance. And for those like Marcus and Arminius, it was a lesson in the complexity of ambition, loyalty, and the human spirit. Here are some tips for writing or enhancing a 6,000-word historical story like the one I just provided. 1. Start with thorough research. Ensure you have a solid understanding of the historical context. For the Roman-Germanic Wars, research key events, e.g., the Battle of Teutoburg Forest. Understand the cultural and political dynamics of both Romans and Germanic tribes. Study historical figures like Varus, Arminius, and Emperor Augustus. 2. Create relatable characters. Develop fictional or semi-fictional characters, like Marcus and Edda, who can provide a personal lens through which readers experience the events. Show their internal conflicts, ambitions, and growth. This humanizes the grand historical narrative. 3. Use conflict to drive the story. Incorporate multiple layers of conflict. External, the clash between Rome and Germania. Internal, Arminius' loyalty to Rome versus his people. Interpersonal, Marcus' suspicion of Arminius. 4. Balance fiction with facts. Stay true to historical events while adding imaginative details that enhance the narrative. Use fictional characters to explore themes and lessons not explicitly documented in history. 5. Establish a vivid setting. Bring the environment to life. Describe the dense forests, harsh weather, and the chaos of battle. Sensory details make the story immersive. Example: the rain turned the ground to mud, swallowing Roman boots and leaving soldiers vulnerable. 6. Build themes and lessons gradually. Highlight the core lessons subtly through character arcs and events, rather than explicitly stating them early. Example: Arminius' betrayal of Rome mirrors his eventual failure to unite Germania, showing the fragility of alliances. 7. Use multiple perspectives. Switch between viewpoints to provide depth. Marcus gives the Roman perspective of overconfidence and loss. Arminius offers insight into the struggles of resistance. Edda represents wisdom and foresight. 8. End with reflection. Conclude with how the events impacted the characters and history itself. How does Marcus change after the war? What happens to Arminius and Germania after their fleeting victory? What legacy does the battle leave for future generations? 9. Stay focused but flexible. Stick to the central narrative, e.g., lessons from the war, but allow room for subplots, e.g., Marcus' personal journey or Edda's visions. 10. Revise and expand. Write a draft, then expand on parts that feel rushed or lack detail. A 6,000-word story allows room for detailed character backstories, expanded battle sequences,